Israel's apparently voting on whether or not there's going to be a hostage deal. And I think the offer, if you're tuning in, which, by the way, welcome to the second hour of the program, Dana Loesch with you. I think they're doing it actually like right now, I think they're determining whether or not they're going to approve this hostage deal. And the deal apparently gets into the the number of hostages released in exchange for Gazan prisoners, and then like several days of pausing the conflict so that aid can get in. You know what I would do? Honestly, I'd say no to all of it. They're going to keep those hostages, and they're going to keep stretching it out and stretching it out. And there are kids being held hostage. There are Americans being held hostage. I still remain, you don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't negotiate with terrorists. It's hard to say that. I mean, these are people's families. And that also hinges on whether or not you believe Hamas will keep its word anyway. Do you honestly think that they would? You can't negotiate with an entity that has proven time and time again that they will not honor any agreement. Like I've said, there was a ceasefire in place on October 6th. What happened to it? That was one of many ceasefires that they had violated. Every time a ceasefire ended, it was because Hamas violated it. Israel did not violate a ceasefire. Hamas has always violated a ceasefire, repeatedly, over 2 decades now. So it's not them. It's not Israel. It's Hamas. You're honestly going to think that you can enter into some kind of goodwill negotiation with a terrorist entity that believes that this isn't about fighting for freedom. There's no occupation. There hasn't been a single Jewish person in Gaza since 2005. Shut up. There's no stupid occupation. That's a dumb term used by stupid white Westerners and black Westerners who have no idea what the hell's going on. It's a bunch of entitled, self-indulgent morons who say these words because they hear other people say them and they think that it sounds smart. They don't have to do the legwork of educating themselves about anything going on in this part of the world, so they just repeat the stuff that they think sounds cool. There hasn't been a Jew in Gaza since 2005. There's nobody that they left. They pulled out unilaterally, left in 2005. Gaza held their first elections. Guess what? Hamas won. Hamas is so powerful and Hamas is so popular that they even gained influence in the West Bank, which is why they had the Palestinian Authority, and that's what they call themselves. There's no such thing as Palestinian. There's no such thing as Palestine. There are Arabs that are in the Gaza Strip and other individuals in the Gaza Strip. We're not making up and creating entire ethnicities and people and countries out of the ether, especially when they're not supported by thousands of years of antiquity. It's not going to happen. But they got so popular that the authority, which rules those 2 territories, essentially, they suspended elections because they knew Hamas was gonna win. So you had Hamas and Fatah under the PA, and Fatah, the chairman of Fatah, also heads up the authority. He wasn't going to be able to keep power, so they suspended elections. That's why, because Hamas was so popular, they were going to run all the territories there. That's it. And I do discount you. People need to stop sitting here and acting like, yes, you have Hamas, the militant group, the terrorist group, but they're also the elected government of this territory. They're basically fait accompli, the elected, the ruling authority in West Bank as well. But you have to remember the number of number of Gazans that were participating along with Hamas in this. Nobody talks about it because they're too afraid of being peppered with accusations that they're for genocide, which is stupid and specious. But everybody's afraid to talk about the sheer number of civilians, people who maybe don't get the members only jacket with Hamas, running along with Hamas, in addition to the journalists there, running along with them, working with them, helping them, being culpable in every way. I watched a video. I watched the video. It was one of the bad ones that showed that Shani Luke's body and her legs all contorted, and she's dead. They cut off her head later. She's in the back of that truck, and this is apparently after they brutally raped her. She's in the back of the truck. Her leg is all bent out. And it was a several minutes long video. There's only a clip where a lot of things are obscured that I think most people have seen. And if you don't wish to unsee things, then don't watch it. But I watched it because I wanted to see what everybody around the terrorists were doing. And I've seen this in every single video. They're like in there. They arrive in Gaza and they have her on the back of this truck. And there are people, there are like men, there are even women that come forward and they're spitting on her dead body in the truck. There are tons of it. When they first loaded her up and left, they were spitting on her, and when they arrived, they were spitting on her. And I, you can't tell me that a female who's all kitted out is part of Hamas like that. I mean, these were people, and there were younger people around. I mean, this wasn't, they didn't just like go into the Hamas HQ. I mean, there were a lot of citizens there as well. And you have to keep this in mind. So when and everyone's so afraid to talk about it, but that's the reality of the situation. There were a lot of civilians that went along with this. A lot. That's one of the reasons why they were making entry, for instance, into West Bank, even if you were someone that had like the permit to go in and work, why they were making it difficult to enter, because there have been people that have been, had these passes, that had the documents, that were able to go in and they carry out these terror attacks there. Because regular citizens are also participating, which is another complication in prosecuting this conflict. I mean, that's the reality of war. When things get to the point where physical conflict is necessary, nuanced considerations go out the window. And for all of the people who say that it's heartless to acknowledge that reality. I respond with this. Where was your heart in all of the instances that escalated us up to this point? Where was your heart all of the times prior that Hamas violated a ceasefire? Where was your heart when Hamas was killing and shelling Israeli hospitals? Where was your heart when they were saying that they could not abide by a two-state solution? They were going to live and die by their charter, which doesn't recognize their neighbor to the north. Where was your heart there? Because it seems like your heart only came into play after October 7th. And you just pretend that October 7th didn't happen, that everything started on October 8th. Where was your heart then? With your fake compassion and your crocodile tears. I question the soul of people who act like this. I do. I think there are a lot of evil people in this world. I think there are a lot of people who have been overtaken by sheer evil. And they are the ones who are out there promoting this nonsense. These people aren't compassionate. The people out there calling for a ceasefire don't have a heart. They don't care about these kids. They're just rhetorically using them as shields in the same way that Hamas did physically. It's disgusting.